Vera Dark, something's going on with PC Gamer. I guess PC Gamer's losing their minds right now. Uh, let's see what's going on. Just wanted to see this quick little video. It seems short. Let's check it out.
We have seen so many journalists melting down over the fact that they are losing their
PC
jobs
Gamer's
at a
been
rapid
going
rate, and
wild
gamers
this
are
year,
not
bro.
sitting here
Well,
defending them,
2024, I
going,
should
"Oh
say.
my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Poor journalists." But now, PC Gamer has put out another hit piece saying it feels like the games industry is poised for a vibe shift or maybe a reckoning, and they talk about the evil gamer gators. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, just a few days ago, they had put out another piece talking about the state of the industry and how
Is
there
that the
are
Alan
a
Wake
ton
2?
of gaming controversies that happened in 2024, and they discuss Sweet Baby Inc. sparking anti-woke outrage. I did another video on it. It will be linked down below, but to read this really quickly, they talk about how in March, a little-known company called Sweet Baby Inc. was suddenly thrust into the spotlight by anti-woke gamers outraged by, at one put it, the narrative consultants' ideological worldviews being shoved into video games, which is funny how they say, oh, SBI is a little known company. First of all, they are an infamous company at this point, but Sweet Baby Inc. has not been a small company. Sure, I guess you could say that if you're just discussing the amount of employees they had last time we were told how many they had, but on the flip side, they have worked with behemoths in the industry like Sony, like Microsoft. They've worked with Devolver Digital most recently. We are not talking about them being a company that has no influence, right? The media constantly tries to say this, as Alyssa Mercante had put it, Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what you think they do, which is a complete and utter.
Yeah, no, they were on a lot. Like almost every single video game that has failed in 2024 due to political agendas, let's say, or due to just being really really narrative pushing woke kind of deal, you know what I'm saying? Has in one way or another had a connection or tie to Sweet Baby Inc. or other companies that do the same things that Sweet Baby Inc. does, which is effectively push like certain political agendas and narratives that they want that they want to like push. They want to do like a cultural shift or a cultural change to have people think the same way that they want to, which realistically nobody likes. It's really annoying. People don't like to have your beliefs pushed onto them. You know what I mean? Uh, but that being said, I feel like there's a way to do it really well. If you actually wanted to do it, you could do it really well. You just like it's just that like they're very heavy handed with it, and I feel like it's because and it does feel like the reason why they're so heavy handed with it and very uncreative with it is because of them working with a lot of these companies that don't really care much about the creative aspect of it, but care more about pushing the view. You get me? So that's kind of why it sucks too, because it's like theoretically, a lot of the stuff that they're trying to push can be positive, like positive change or bring positive change. Just the way that they're doing it is very bad.
Lie. They do exactly what you believe they do. Why
Very
would they
annoying.
be
Nobody likes
hired
it.
to do absolutely nothing to projects? That makes no sense. But they talk about how, which is of course nonsense, the company is contracted by developers who want to improve pre-existing elements of their games, but I haven't seen much improvement given every title Sweet Baby Inc. has touched this year has turned to trash, and 95% of the games they've worked on have not been successful. But they talk about how the outcome is as ridiculous as it sounds. The furor was real. A Steam curator group dedicated to detecting the presence of SBI in games has now swollen to more than 460,000 followers, which just proves that there really are millions and millions of gamers who disagree with what SBI is doing in the industry, because you know that there are tons of people who are paying attention but decided to just not follow this list. But now they're putting out yet another piece titled After 2024. It feels like the games industry is poised for a vibe shift or maybe a reckoning. This year's trends and hardships are setting up 2025 to be a year of big change. The change that we really need in the gaming industry is companies listening to consumers, because at every single level, things can only go up. I mean, let's be honest, the gaming industry is still making a massive amount of money. $208 billion in 2024, it's estimated, which is crazy, but they could be making even more money if they were listening to what we really wanted. Look at what happened with Ubisoft this year, okay? They had Skull and Bones, which was a quadruple A failure. They spent $400 to $600 million on it, and it didn't even make close to that. X Defiant was supposed to be the COD killer. They
Which was the first ever quadruple A game, by the way, and it is. It is pretty much cemented the insult triple A to become like the next big, like, that's gonna fail, and they spent way too much money on it, and it's horrible, and it doesn't meet any of the expectations that they promised, basically.
sunk years into, and that ended up flopping. You have Star Wars Outlaws. They put the most amount of money ever into marketing the game, and it couldn't even top 2 million players in totality, as far as we know. And then they had to
By the way,
delay.
let me know if you guys want. I'm so down to go back and play some of these games. For example, and I'm talking about like ones that seem like it might be fun to see if they're like fixed at all. Starfield, I would be so down to try it out and see if they've actually fixed it, because I played that game when it first came out too. It was
Assassin's
so
Creed
freaking
Shadows because
bad.
they didn't want another failure on 2024, but they have lost 85% of their market cap over only 4 years. That is mind-boggling. And 2024 was the worst year they've ever had. Billions and billions of dollars lost. And if they had listened to gamers and they were creating high quality pieces of content, they could have made billions and billions more. I mean, look at all the flops this year with Kill the Justice League, $200 million lost. These companies could have brought in another $30 billion if they actually started listening to us. But they
Yeah,
talk
no,
about
so like I can't say it right because of YouTube, but S Squad Unalive the Justice League was pretty much just the most prime example of the SBI, like, trying to push a lot of their agenda, but not actually caring whatsoever for making a good quality game. And it's just like the most obvious example. And it's like, bro, that whole game just needed a whole year of cooking to go. Like, it needed so much more content. Like, it was so bad.
how the rough
It was
conclusion
so
of the
desperate
year
for
has
content.
to do with roughly 15,000 game developers being laid off. There are far too few open roles for the industry to retain that talent, which, by the way, there are nearly 2 million game developers across the world. So I don't know why they're sitting here getting so upset over 15,000 developers being laid off. Yes, I do understand it sounds like a big number, but not in the grand scheme of things. Then they go on to talk about how, quote, right wing reactionaries fueled a renewed hate campaign against wokeness and DEI in
Right
gaming.
wing reactionaries. It's like it has nothing to do with whether you're right or left wing. We just want good games. Like, what are you talking about?
With consultancy
What
Sweet
is going on?
Baby
Like,
Inc. taking the brunt
why?
of the fire. I think that this
Like, for goodness sake, keep that out of, like, nobody cares about your politics in the video game. Just make it a good game.
wording is very hilarious because they talk about how we renewed a hate campaign
Their
against
language,
wokeness
the
and
language they use
DEI in gaming,
betrays
and we're
them.
only awful right wing reactionaries. When I could sit here and say, radical leftists fueled a renewed hate campaign against gamers and every beloved character in franchises. What did they do to Joel? They bashed his head in so they could make
Damn it, no.
way for
No, it
a
didn't.
female to
No,
replace him.
shut up. No, it didn't happen. I haven't. Listen. I haven't played. I haven't played The Last of Us 2, and I refuse to. I just won't. I will. It doesn't exist. It never happened. It's not real. It's not real. The game ended in the first one. The first game is the only game. There was never a second game, and I refuse to believe that there is one.
So that they
No.
could have two females as the center point of the story. What did they do with
They made the character that like butchered Joel the character. Like, why? What is wrong with you? And it's like not only that, but it seems to be like the same exact thing for every game, where it's like male protagonist. They make him old and crotchety and like yucky, and like everyone hates him now. He's stupid, or he's like or he's gross. Best example is like you look at Luke Skywalker. Look at Alan Wake in Alan Wake 2. And look at freaking The Last of Us with Joel. And then they just bring in a fresh. Oh, and then another good example would be like Indiana Jones. What else? So Indiana Jones, the dude, the dwarf guy, the midget guy. I don't know which one's the correct. I'm so sorry. I don't know which one's correct now anymore. Midget dwarf guy, in Willow, and like now he's like useless or like completely an idiot. You get me? Let me see, what else is there? Well, that's a decent amount of ones for now, but I know that there's a couple more. If I can think of any more, I'll let you know. But basically, they do that, and then they get replaced in the main story by the young, attractive, female that is like freaking so much better by like a 10,000 points, so much better, by like 10,000, bro. They're like so much better. A million times better than them. You get me?
The Justice League?
They can do it better than you can.
One of the most beloved characters ever
Indiana
created
Jones did it.
and killed him. Who killed him? A raging feminist, Harley Quinn, who was sick and tired of her ex-boyfriend's bullshit and just wanted to...
Fair, actually, yeah. I guess in a weird way, that they did that with Suicide Squad too. I said it. Damn it. We're good. We're like 6 minutes into the video, so that should be like a good 8 minutes in for the VOD. But yeah, no, they did that too for that. Where I guess Harley Quinn replaced Batman.
Destroy the person who she
even
felt
gave them all of Batman's equipment
over the years. What did they do? Oh, Mr. Freeze? No. Mrs. Freeze, a gender swapped lesbian character. Did we ever ask for that? No. Instead of giving us a cool Joker, they gave us the soy boy.
They did that with She-Hulk too, where Bruce Banner, the Hulk, gets replaced by She-Hulk, who's so much better at being the Hulk than he is.
Joker. What happened with the Saints Row reboot? Oh, that's right. They didn't bring back any of the fan favorite characters and replace them with Seattle homeless hippies who drink soy lattes at Starbucks every day. This is why...
Yo, for real, what the hell? What happened to Johnny Gat? They finally gave us Johnny Gat, like Johnny Gat Goes to Hell with Kenzie. That was freaking dope. Oh, at this point, the only if they really wanted to what was her name? Shauna? Was it Shauna the chick? Because there's like Johnny Gat. Was it Shauna was her name? And then there's you. She used to be like a pothead hippie. And then she became like the mafia boss, like badass. They make her the main character now, because we had the bosses games. We had Kenzie with Johnny Gat. At this point, either give Kenzie like a cyber a cyber game where you play as Kenzie, or that's what I assumed you guys were gonna do. Was gonna be like Saints Row, and then you get to play like in one DLC you play as Johnny Gat, In another DLC, you play as Kenzie. In another DLC, you play as Shanta. And then another one, you play as the president, Keith Richards, president. Like, come on, like, how am I the one coming up with all this? This is genius.
We are sitting here questioning the decisions being made in the industry. And if you look at that lineup of games, a bunch of them have Sweet Baby Inc. or a similar narrative consultancy group at the helm. These radical leftists have a hate campaign against gamers, just like at the beginning of Gamergate 1, the same thing Anita Sarkeesian.
Like if they wanted to have like a DC game with like Batman being replaced by a female, just make a Batwoman game. Like, how is that so complicated? Just Batwoman. Like Rocksteady, like the same exact company that made Arkham Knight, but make Batwoman. Just like Batwoman. You get me? For one night, something happens and Batman needs is like literally not on Earth right now. He is in outer space with the Justice League fighting a war or something. And so while that's happening and he's like off in outer space freaking fighting pick somebody. What is it? What's his face? The guy with the broken face with the cracked stone face. What is his name? He's like the DC version of Thanos. You know what I'm talking about. Apocalypse. No, not Apocalypse. Wasn't it Apocalypse? No, it was something else. Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. He has like the laser eyes. Like while they're fighting him, the Penguin or the Joker or whoever, all the gangs, all the big names decide they're gonna take over Gotham. Because right now the Batman is gone and they know he's gone. And then there you go, bam, Batwoman, she has to take charge. She has to take the lead. You know, like just make it take place before she becomes Oracle. You get me?
And Brianna Wu and Zoe
Pay me money!
Did, where
Pay me money and I'll write you the best storylines, bro.
Really,
you have no idea.
It was gamers calling out bullshit happening in the industry. We were calling out activists going, how can we make a quick buck, and then setting their sights on the video game industry because they knew that they could inject their political bullshit into this sphere. They don't give a fuck about video games. Most of the people in the industry right now don't care about the industry. This is why we have to sit here and call them out all the time. This is why I've made a billion videos about Sweet Baby Inc. and narrative consultancy companies, because these people are not listening to us. Not every game has to be for everybody, but when you have an established...
Not only are they not listening, they also lie and make up whole new, like, realities, too. That's the craziest part, is that they just start making stuff up to try to change, like, the history book, so to speak.
Established franchise like the Arkhamverse, for example, you shouldn't be completely disregarding the fan base you already have. All you are doing is making it so nobody trusts you in the future. It's why we sit here and say Naughty Dog's a shell of the company they once were. Rocksteady is a shell of the company they once were, because they've proven us right that they are a shell. They go on to talk about how any remaining goodwill around Microsoft's acquisition spree, curdled with the blundering closure of Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks, which, by the way, Tango, by the point that they had published this article, had already announced that they were basically like reviving themselves, which is great, and I love to see that. They talk about how Balatro spawned copycats near instantly, reinforcing how quickly and eagerly developers hungry for a hit in a crowded Steam marketplace will pounce on a proven idea. Yeah, is that a problem? Because I don't think it's a problem.
Congratulations! Like, Call of Duty started a freaking Fortnite when Fortnite got too popular. Well, like Call of Duty did Warzone. Yeah. Everyone copies each other. Welcome to the gaming industry. It's been happening since the beginning, since literally since it started. Yeah.
I think that it's great developers see success and they want to make
Copy
a
the
product
formula
that could also be successful.
And make it compete. Do something better. They change it up. Like Fortnite would have been stuck on the same exact BS if it wasn't for Call of Duty and other games trying to basically cut into their market, their industry. Now Fortnite is making Fortnite ballistics. They're trying to reinvent the multiplayer. You know, like, that's not a bad thing. If anything, it's good because now these freaking gaming companies, hopefully, will actually start to try to, like, make the games better. Otherwise, they're gonna lose competition. But if you don't learn, and if you don't start to change, and, like, actually make good games, then you're just gonna get left behind. My wall is not gonna open for you. It's that simple.
People had a lot of fun with Balatro, so I would not sit here and complain that developers are just trying to make a game that is fun like Balatro. They're going to gain an audience that way. Sure, if it was just a copy and paste the same exact game except for slightly different names on things, then I'd 100% sit here and criticize them, but that's really not the case. They talk about how Concord's flopped to the tune of 200 million. I don't understand how they could be so wrong so many times over. It was not a $200 million flop. I can't even finish this sentence without correcting them. They wasted like $500 million on this game. They had the initial publishing deals, then they went on to buy Firewalk Studios, and then they had them change a bunch of things and redevelop a bunch of areas. And
yeah, you don't think about that. They didn't just make the game. They bought the freaking studio. And I'm sure they're not putting in how much money they put into advertising as well.
And they had a whole entire PvE mode that was scrapped. That's not $200 million. Buying Firewalk was probably like $150 to $200 million. We are not talking about just 200 mil here. They talk about how it was prompted by Sony to close not just the game, but the studio, bringing discourse around the risks of AAA development to a fever pitch.
Imagine that, bro. Imagine buying a studio for, let's say, in the cheapest, 100,000. No, I mean, like, 100 million, right? Yeah, for like a whole studio. Let's say in the cheapest, 100 million. Nah, but see, if you spend 200 million on the game, on just the game, let's say in the best scenario, the studio cost 100 million. You gave them double the amount you spent on the studio for the game, 200 million. It all fails so miserably that you just close the studio. You just throw away those 100 million that you paid for the studio on top of the 200. That's insane. That is crazy.
Yeah, when you spend $500 million on a game,
not even to mention how much you spent on advertising
for it, and it's a mediocre title. You've only got a couple of maps, you've only got a couple of characters, there's no PvE mode, and you're doing what games did a decade ago. Never mind the fact that it is infested with DEI. You're going to fail. Maybe these companies.
Yeah, you really launched a competitor to Overwatch how many years after Overwatch came out?
Creating
that don't make no sense to it.
Quality products instead of following social trends and listening to 5 people online who said, I'd love a modern audience Overwatch. You'd be successful if you ignored those voices. And we have seen a lot of live service failures over the year. We have seen that there have been a lot of flops. And I'm not saying that the video game industry is in a perfect state. It certainly is not. There are tons of games that are releasing and that are failing, but there are still a lot of major successes, and that is important to point out. Though they talk about how after 2024 it feels like the games industry is poised for a vibe check, which first of all sounds extremely cringy, but most of the points they make here are completely blown out of proportion or straight up false. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.
I'm done spending an obscene.
Freaking phenomenal video, my dude. Thank you so much for the clip.
In 2020,
PCGamer really seems like they're having a bit of a copium session, aren't they? Like, at this point, it's like, bro, just give it up. Like, at the end of the day, if you want these let's say you want these values to be pushed in gaming, then if anyone should be incredibly critical of all these games, it should be you. You should be demanding better games that push the values that you actually want. Like me, for example, I some of the values that I try to hold by, even though, and yes, some people have called me out for this, I am always gonna be human first. As someone who loves animals so much, I push for, and advocate for, like, keeping the oceans clean. There's a really cool video that we should watch actually pretty soon, about, like, a lot of coral reefs being recreated by taking, like, clippings from, like, naturally fallen off corals and putting them onto structures and, like, recreating coral reefs. It's so cool. I love it. We gotta watch that video. And we might even watch it today, right? We got a couple more to go through, but a game that I fully supported and pushed that value was Another Crab's Treasure, which was all about a crab, or like, well, a hermit crab, basically, who was using trash that littered the entire ocean, either to create, like, civilizations, as weapons, as a new home. It's because he lost his shell, stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? So it kind of like, but they never pushed that, like, keep the oceans clean value on you into your face. It was a Dark Souls style game. It was freaking cool, and like the mechanics of like you using trash as like your weapon or trash as like your armor, it like was so cool because you would think about all the unique like trash like stuff. And I gotta be honest with you, to this day, every time I throw away like a 6-pack of mineral waters, like the little thing, I chop up the little freaking the little plastic ring thing so that like a turtle doesn't get its head stuck on the stuff. Or I make sure that all like any actual plastic stuff gets like shredded and like cut to pieces, tear apart your cardboard, stuff like that. I make sure, like you don't think about any stuff, but it's like really important. It's really cool. I reuse all of like the jars that I have for candles and stuff. I reuse them for storing foodstuffs and other things. Like I clean them. Like I try to be like so much more thoughtful about all these things now. I have so many jars now that like for things that I like eat or use, that I either reuse jars now or I will like plant flowers in them and use them as pottery. So it's like that game really influenced me a lot. I liked it, and it really shows. It's a good example of how to push a value onto an audience, but without actually throwing it in your face, and actually like just sort of like getting the message across with a really fun, really entertaining game. I played the game on stream. Why? Because it was just fun. It had nothing to do with the thing, but it really had a good message. You get me? So anyway, that's just an example of like what like how I like that kind of stuff to be pushed. I'm trying to think of another game that pushes a particular value, in a particular way, like. Which I can't really think of anything right now necessarily. Yeah, I can't really think of anything in particular right now that I can think of off the top of my head, like super crazy. I guess Deus Ex Machina really showed you like was like a pretty good one for showing like basically like how different people will treat each other with like augments and modifications to body, stuff like that. Like how quickly one person, a human being, will start to treat another human being differently based off of like external appearances and stuff like that. You get me? Or how like that was a pretty good one for that. Something like that. But it wasn't really like that one wasn't really like a focus either. Not quite to the same degree of like another crab's treasure. Let's move on. Welcome back, Normal. Great video. Definitely recommend Vera Dark. She makes a lot of good content. I already shared that video. Okay, perfect. Let's move on to the next one, my dudes. Thanks for hanging out. Like or dislike, comment, and subscribe, and become a Monodachi today. I live stream all day, Monday through Friday, so go say hi. That's all for now, Monos. Goodbye, and thanks for swinging by. Salut!